Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Ciel DeGuglielmo. My guest on the podcast today is Addie Conte. She was offered a job on a whim by a local Maryland drapery workroom in 2012. That first experience sparked her love for making beautiful things, and that continues today. Any spare time she had was spent attending workroom classes and window treatment conferences. She began planning her own workroom space in her unfinished basement. Shortly after, a local seamstress was going out of business, and Addie was able to acquire all of their equipment, and ta-da! Addie Designs, LLC was born. Today, the Addie Designs team proudly operates from a dynamic studio in Deale, Maryland, a versatile space where their workroom seamlessly merges with their inspiring showroom. It was pictures of that showroom that made me want to reach out to Addie, because I did interview her several years ago, and I'll put a link to that first podcast in the show notes. And I have been watching her business and her family grow in all these past couple years. So it was really a thrill and an honor for me to take some time to catch up with Addie. I really hope you enjoy hearing from her today. Addie, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ciel. I'm so excited to see you again.
And I said this before we started to record. If for nothing else, I at least get to catch up with you and hear what's changed in your life since the last time I got to see you. So that's really fun for me, and I appreciate your time. Especially, this is a busy time of the year, and I know we don't all have extra time. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, I'm excited to be a part of this. This is a wonderful thing you do.
Thank you. We did a podcast already, and I'll put a link to that first podcast for anyone who hasn't listened to it. And I was looking to see when that was, and it was, let me find, 2018.
Wow.
I know. I looked at it twice, and I was like, that can't be right.
That's mind blowing. I can't believe it's been that long.
And how much has changed in both of our lives, I'm sure, but your business has changed so dramatically since that time. And I think, did I interview you after we did the Pricing Without Emotion course in Maryland?
I believe so. I did it twice. Did you go to both?
I have gone to two.
Okay.
The first one was in New Jersey. The second one that I did was in Maryland, and you are the one who organized it.
Yes.
I do remember that.
It was the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh, it's been 6 years. How did that happen?
That's crazy.
So for people who have not listened to the first podcast, if you can just tell us a little bit about who you are, where you live in the world, and a little bit about your business.
Sure. So I live in Maryland, about 20 minutes from DC, and I started my business 10 years ago in my home. I have 4 kids who were small at the time.
Yes.
Not so small anymore. And it was, I basically fell into it. I met someone who basically offered me a job. I had just started teaching myself to sew, and they offered me a job and offered to train me. And it was, they basically made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And then I fell in love with it. I have twin daughters who were in preschool at the time. So I made it clear I had to, I started in January, and I made it clear I had to quit in June because I had to be home for my kids. My 2 boys were, I can't even remember how old. So it's 13 and 10. And so I needed to be home, especially if they were sick. And so my father and I made a table in my basement, and my unfinished basement, and I found a workroom that was going out of business, and I bought everything. And That was 10 years ago. Yeah.
So when we were together at that class, you were actually only in business 4 years.
Yep.
Wow.
Great.
That's also mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Because as I said, you were the one who organized the class, and it was your second time to take it.
Right.
So you really went into this with a mindset of this will be a strong, profitable business, but you were also making it work around the life that you had, a busy life with 4 young children.
Yeah.
To the same age, and having grown up with twins in my family, I know that's challenging.
Yeah, it was busy, but I loved it so much. It didn't feel like it was something I was forcing. It all just felt so right, because every time I thought, hey, maybe this would be a good idea, an opportunity arose. So I was like, okay, this is the right path. This is what I'm doing. This feels right. And every time an opportunity popped up, I took it. Even if I didn't always feel like the timing was quite right, I felt like a lot of times the opportunities was like I had to take it or I was not going to get it again. So I had to kind of make it happen, because the timing, maybe I didn't feel like the timing in my life was right, but the timing in the business was.
Right.
And there were opportunities that happened throughout the last 10 years that were like, okay, either I make the leap now or it's not going to happen.
Right. And so I'm curious, Addie, how you balance that with the priority of being there for your kids, because that's the kind of stuff that stretches us all way beyond what we originally think we're capable of. And that decision of just like saying, I'm sorry, I have to quit in the summer because my kids need me. That's a strong stance. Not everybody is comfortable with that. Not everybody appreciates that in an employee or someone that they're working with, but it was a priority for you and you made it.
Right.
But now you're telling me that you're also saying yes to opportunities that might have felt really like, okay, how am I going to make all this work? So how did you make it all work?
I don't even remember. It's a blur. There was very little sleep in the and a little blind faith. So I also have an amazing support system. My husband, he owns his own business as well. So we do have flexibility time-wise, and his business is successful. So we are able to support each other.
Okay.
And set our own schedules, basically.
Okay.
And then as the kids got older and more independent, that it made things easier. But also, we live on a street with my husband's entire family. And so we have grandmothers and aunts and cousins and places where the kids can just run across the street and, come home in a couple hours, and I know everybody's fine. So I have that as far as the kids go. So it was maybe a situation that not everybody has. So I was very lucky in that sense.
Yeah.
I think I think I have a great support system, and that's probably the answer to a lot of my success.
There's a young family that lives across the street from us, and I can see their house from my kitchen window. I'm not stalking them, I promise you. But they just had their 4th child. And I have noticed that since that baby has been born, there has been an additional car there almost every day. And I know, in-laws and parents live very close by. And I was just thinking how fortunate they are to have that support system. And because all the kids are under 6, and that's a lot of little children. And I just keep thinking how wonderful that her mother and her mother-in-law and her father and her father-in-law are all so close by and able to help out. And you're right, we don't all have that.
Right.
But if you have it, it really does allow you to say things like, okay, yes, I'm going to take this opportunity because I can make this work.
Right. Exactly. And there's a bit of security that I have because of family and friends, and that I'm really fortunate to be able to take some risks that maybe I wouldn't otherwise.
Okay. So Addie, your business has grown tremendously since we talked 6 years ago. Tell us a little bit about the evolution from the table in your basement to where you are now.
So a few years ago, geez, it must be 3 or 4 now. Someone came to me from a very large workroom, and she was managing in Baltimore and wanted to kind of slow down and get her hands back into actually sewing. And I hired her. She's had 30 years of experience, so I could hand her a work order and she could just make it. Okay. So that really freed me up. I was doing everything myself, and then she came along, a unicorn came along, and freed me up to be able to really work and concentrate on the business part and relationships with designers, and searching for more opportunities to expand the business and take on more jobs that I maybe wouldn't on my own.
Right.
So that was huge. And then last year, about 10 minutes away in Deale, there was a friend of mine was going a different route in her business and said, "Hey, I have a space that you might be interested in. Do you want to take it over?" And I looked at it and I was like, "Yeah, I do. I do want to do this." And so it's about 1,500 square feet.
Okay.
And which was a little bit of a downsize for us. But having it out of the house was huge for me because I could separate family and work.
Okay.
So instead of during the day when I'm running up and down throwing in a load of laundry and then running down and sewing it him and then, maybe feeding the dog and taking the dogs out and then, I'm working until midnight because I did house stuff instead of work, or vice versa when, my family's all ready for dinner and I'm like, I'm still sewing, so it's made a huge difference in my personal life having it out of my house.
Okay.
And I also think that it's become more organized and streamlined.
Okay.
I'm able to hire more employees outside of my home and bring clients in, which I didn't really like doing in my own home.
Right.
So it's changed the whole face of my business. And then about a month ago, we knocked down some walls between our space and the space next to it and added on 1,000 square feet for a showroom.
Oh, nice.
So we're actually, we've even grown even more in the last year. And so it's actually getting framed out today, my office, and we're doing a build out and we're getting ready to be able to have a meeting space in addition and expand the workroom itself. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, really. Congratulations. I think that's amazing. So how would you describe what your business model is right now? Are you to the trade only? Are you working with retail clients? How would you explain your business to anyone else in our industry? Because we understand the terms, but what is your business right now?
So right now, about a third of my clients are my clients, and I design their window treatments, and we make them, and we provide the fabric and all the things. And then 2/3 are designers. I've worked with. I'm currently working with about 10 designers right now, and they are absolutely fabulous. I love working with designers.
I do too.
They're just so wonderful and creative, and the things they come up with that I would be like. There's been a few times where I'm like, really, and then we put it in the room. I'm like, wow, that was so amazing. Where I would have never thought to do. So it's a lot of fun to do that and see what they do and work with their gorgeous fabrics and learn new things. but I also love my own clients.
Okay.
I get to be creative and go on things like that.
Yeah, I love hearing about the balance of designers versus retail clients, because I know that some of us, not me, love working with the retail clients. But that ability to be creative, I think, when it's so important to some of us, that you get to guide your clients in a way that feels good for you. So that's kind of a unique situation, though. I don't hear that as often as I hear it's retail or it's to the trade. So I love that you get to do both of those things.
I do. And I've gotten to the point, because of the designers, that I've been able to be a little more selective in who the clients I accept.
Okay.
When I first started out, I had my clients only, and then I've evolved. So I really like where I am right now with a mix with the majority of designers, excuse me. And, but I get to pick and choose my clients who I get to.
So interestingly enough, that's actually the title of the podcast, or almost the first podcast is I'm choosing my jobs instead of them choosing me.
Oh, yeah.
So I love the consistency, first of all.
I really love that part.
Yeah. And I think that there's so many times, Addie, that we see it in the forum on the library. We see it in the Facebook groups where people are like, yeah, I said yes to this job and now I'm regretting it. And we've all done that.
And I still do sometimes.
Of course. But there is a certain amount of relief in understanding that that job you just said no to would have been a nightmare. And you walked away from it because you could. And I
also, saying no to jobs frees me up to do the jobs that I really love, even though that job may not have been a nightmare. It may not have been fulfilling. So there's that too. And I've learned, maybe not take on a super small job when I know a big one's on the horizon, that I know I can really dive into. So.
And that's a topic I see come up frequently. I can still remember the first time someone indicated, and we may have even spoken about it in the Pricing Without Emotion course, like, do you say yes to a pillow if you're doing multi-window rooms or multi-room houses, projects? And I remember feeling like, well, who can say no to one thing? But designing one pillow with a client, whether it's a designer or a homeowner, is time consuming. And in order to charge for the design time, the selection time, and everything else that goes with it, you'd have to charge $500 for a pillow, and no one wants to pay that.
Right.
And so as I heard the logic behind it, I was like, oh, and that's different than my designer contacting me and saying, hey, I need 2 pillows for this client. This. Sure,
exactly.
Send it to me. I'm happy.
That's a return client. That's different.
Exactly. But I really understand that mindset better than I did, 20 years ago in my business. But it's also understanding that being forced to say yes to everything does stop you from having access to the jobs that are more in alignment with what you want to do in your business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you had some opportunities come up. Did you make a deliberate choice to grow?
Yes, I did, but there was an evolution to it. So I knew in my head, eventually I wanted to get out of my house. And to do that, I had to grow and be able to afford rent and, and not be scared each month, like, oh, do we have enough work? And then we got so busy, and I had my seamstress, my wonderful seamstress, and I have an assistant too, who does all the social media, and which I'm hoping everyone has seen. And, she's amazing. She videos me, which is absolutely uncomfortable for me. I hate it.
You don't look uncomfortable. I will say she does do a good job.
That's how good she is. So she's like, do that one more time, a little bit better. And I'm like, duh. That's helped a lot. But to grow, it's basically Part of it's a lot of luck that things are just popped up and I said yes. Saying yes was scary to a lot of things. And, but I also, like I said, knew that if I didn't know when I'd be able to. So sacrifice for a little while until it pays off and then make it work. That's what I did. And, so far it's been great.
Yeah.
I'm hoping now that we can, get this next step finished and then kind of just be for a while. It's been a little stressful, but it's wonderful.
I like that expression, just be for a little while. Growth is uncomfortable. It's expensive. It's tiring.
Yes.
Like making that decision to expand into the space next door. That's a big decision. And I'm curious, do you make decisions easily?
Yes, I tend to jump and then hope it works out. I'm like, okay, yeah, we're doing it. There was a salon that I actually go to next to us, and she said, "Hey," and I rented an office in the back, my personal office, and she said, "Hey, I want to downsize. Do you want to grow? Because we can switch spots." And she goes, "And I need to do it by the end of the year." And I was like, "Okay." I don't know how, but we're going to do this.
Okay, and you still don't have to go far to get your hair done.
No, she puts oils in my hair and I go back to work and then she comes in and is like, you're done. So, the time you're processing and going, oh my gosh, I could be doing all this stuff. I actually am. So it's wonderful.
Okay. So I think that's hilarious, Addie, because my husband and I always joke about like, when I go I don't get it done that often, but when I get the highlights done, he's like something about, enjoy it. I'm like, no, I don't. I sit there thinking there are 1,000 other things I could be doing. Yes. So I really get that.
Yes.
Addie, what's been the biggest challenge of growing?
Finding help.
Okay.
Finding skilled help. I am in need of a 5-day-a-week seamstress / workroom manager, and I've been looking for a long time. It is impossible.
I have seen the ad that you placed on social media, and it's funny because when you said something about this woman downsizing and wanting to work less, my first thought was, okay, you've got a star employee who doesn't want to work all the time. No shade on her.
No. And she started out 4 to 5 days a week, and that was wonderful. But now she's ready to step back a little bit down to 3 days a week. And I respect that completely. She's got a new grandchild and, wants to enjoy her family. And it's a lot. And so that being said, I got spoiled. And I love her, and she was so good. And I'm like, that's what I want.
Yeah, exactly. Clone you, please.
Yes.
What is your definition of success?
My definition of success is doing what you love while you're able to support yourself and have control over it and your personal life at the same time.
I like that. That is very specific.
Yeah.
I like that. What's been your greatest success so far?
My kids, being able to do everything I love, but also see my kids succeed. One just moved to Georgia and graduated and got a wonderful career. My other son is a sophomore in Alabama. And then my twins are getting ready to graduate from high school next year.
Yeah, I need a moment. I need a moment.
I know. They're all just babies.
I've seen pictures of them. I've known they've been growing up, but now I just need a moment to process that.
But with the business, I've been able to help them do that. So, and create all the opportunities for them. And they've watched they've been cheering me on. My husband's been cheering me on. So they're all a part of it. And that has been my biggest success, is to be able to do everything I love, but have my family excited about it and not going, where have you been?
Right. I love that, Addie. That is one of the best answers I've gotten. I love that.
Yay. Good.
Have you ever considered quitting?
Yes. I remember the first time you asked me that, and I was like, no way. Now, yes, I have. But then I pictured myself not doing this, and I can't, not yet anyway. Maybe one day I'll pivot and maybe do this for someone else, like my seamstress did for me, but not anytime soon.
Okay. You've mentioned the number of designers that you're working with. At what point did you have to make some changes about how you organized things and how you did work orders? Has that been an ongoing process? How do you manage going from being a single person workroom to now having employees, a larger space, and more people that you're working with? What were some of the processes and procedures you felt it necessary to put in place?
Well, my employees basically cornered me and said, okay, you got to dump your brain. We cannot read your brain. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know you don't know this thing. I kept everything in my head. And that was so hard for me to communicate everything that I have in my head. So they were hugely instrumental in creating our processes. So we started out using Airtable, which was great. And we were building that to basically my assistant, Jill, she was building that from scratch to work for us.
Okay.
But then recently, we started using Quipa, and that has been a complete game changer. And they just rolled out a new update, which is going to really encompass everything we do. I've worked with Hope, the creator, and her son Scott, who have been amazing in tailoring it to everything we need. We're in the very early stages of switching everything over. So that, to answer your question, yes, it's been an evolution because we keep finding better software that really meet our needs. But this seems to be the one. We can print our work orders off of that. And we had created our own work orders that were really working well. And we always find something we're going to change or add, or, this is falling through the cracks. We really need this on the work order so we don't forget to add it.
Right.
And I worked closely with Hope, and she was just wonderful going, okay, what else do you do? What else do you do? Let me add that. And she has really, she and Scott, both her son, have really, really been helpful and accommodating. Okay. And so we are just this week really diving deep to change everything just to use that. Okay. So that's been a big deal.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to talking with Hope again very soon, I hope, to hear more about Quipa. I interviewed her a while ago, so I'm really excited.
So just in the last month, she's had several updates.
Okay, fantastic.
Very, very, very cool.
I want to jump in and take a moment to thank the sponsors who make it possible for me to bring you the podcast each week. My sponsors are people in the industry that I have personally had a connection to, purchased from, or used their services. So it makes it really easy for me to tell you about them and the great things that they have to offer. Because I feel so strongly about education in our industry, I'm thrilled that as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library, I can use the resources of the library to help support the podcast. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. Angels Linings would like to invite you to become part of their family. With reputable lining comes exceptional customer service. Trust them with your linings like I do. You get 2 Tootsie Pops with every bolt of lining you receive. For smiles, satisfaction, and a sugar kick all around, call Angels Linings at 1-800-450-9368. The Workroom channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. If you've listened to the podcast, you know how much I've learned from Michelle Williams. And I think most of my guests have mentioned taking at least one of her classes or gotten coaching from her. Her business is Scarlet Thread Consulting. Michelle loves to work with creative business owners to help them understand all aspects of their business and to use their gifts and talents to make it profitable. Michelle is a strategic profitability coach certified in the Profit First methodology, and she can be reached at scarletthreadconsulting.com. I've also mentioned my membership with the WCAA, and I'm now a gold level sponsor, where education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to our members. The Window Covering Association of America is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. I've also been extremely fortunate to be able to work with Merrill Y. Landis Ltd. It's a family-owned and operated custom workroom and product distribution company to the trade with over 70 years of experience. And in addition to their custom work, they offer a wide variety of decorative drapery hardware. They offer stout and flare 21 fabrics. They have Roman shade operating systems and assembly kits. They have motorization and workroom supplies, and they serve both designers and workrooms. And you can check out the MYL Advantage at mylLTD.com. One of the questions I love to ask people who have grown their business and now have multiple employees, when there is a mistake, how do you handle it? And how do you handle your own mistakes?
We just figure out how to fix it. We just figure out how, okay, let's fix it real fast and then figure out how we're not going to do it again.
That's important.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And that's why our work orders have evolved so much over the years because, maybe I fill out the work orders and maybe I forgot to put something on there, but maybe there needs to be a line that asks for it specifically. So, there's things like that, that we've addressed. So there's, there's going to be mistakes. We're people, it's handmade, it's fabric that doesn't stand stiff. It's going to wiggle. And, experience is a huge thing. We've worked with this fabric before. We know it wiggles. Let's make sure we do this because last time we didn't, so there's a lot of that. But we just figure out how to fix it. We're very transparent. And when I work with a new designer, I tell them there will be mistakes, but we will fix them. It happens. We're human.
Okay. I know as perfectionists, it can be very difficult to hand over the work to somebody else. Are you fabricating at all now, Addie?
Yes.
Okay.
So with my seamstress only 3 days a week, I'm in a lot of weekends and Mondays and Tuesdays cutting everything. And then she comes in and tables and finishes. And then I have a senior in high school who's fabulous. And she comes on the weekends and does all the hand sewing and corners and cleaning and buys bobbins and, does make sure all the machines are cleaned up and everything's stocked and
that's fabulous.
Yeah, she's great.
Okay. That's incredible. So I know part of the answer to this, but have you read any books or taken any classes that have significantly changed you or your business?
Yes. Michelle's classes, of course, Pricing Without Emotion. And then the most recent one that we did in Alpharetta, where she rolled out Metrique and really dove deep into, and I got to meet so many more people. So that was that was really cool. And people that I've only met online. So that was fun.
That's always awesome, isn't it?
Yes. And she's 20 minutes from my son now. So I got to see him too. That was exciting. But
Awesome.
so Michelle's classes, Metrique has been wonderful on the business side, not the fabrication side. I love Quipa for the fabrication side. And then the business side, Metrique has really taken out the minutia of the books. It just basically gives me the snapshot that like, okay, this is what you need. It broke it down and said, you don't need to do all this math. We're going to do it for you, which is not
okay.
This has been the challenge for me, is the business part. But having Metrique has made me look forward to looking at my numbers because I don't have to figure it all out. It's just like, this is what you need. This week, next month, this next year, 5 years. That's a huge one.
Okay. You mentioned using Airtable. Do you use a lot of technology in the business?
Not a lot.
Okay.
I would say some. Airtable was great for inventory, but we really had to work hard to tailor it to us.
Okay. And Quipa is obviously technology, but it's done for you. So,
exactly.
Okay.
So we're trying to figure out like Quipa and Metrique where there's less, it saves time.
Okay. From either fabricating standpoint or running the business standpoint, what 3 items could you not live without? And you can combine the 2 if you'd like.
My seamstress, my assistant, and the space.
Oh, yes. That's a good one. I don't think I've ever heard that answer before, but that's a good one. So you are still involved in the fabrication end of it. Do you ever sew anything for pleasure? Do you ever take any time to do that?
No.
Yeah.
I don't have time.
Yeah, it's a common answer, and yet I'm still intrigued enough to answer it.
I don't have any window treatments in my house that I've made. Well, I'm sorry, I do. I have one room, and that was when my mother moved in with me, and she didn't have any draperies, and I was like, okay, this is for my mom, so I'll do it.
That is not a good thing, Addie. You need to get some treatments.
I know it. But we are starting to use a new Roman system, Roman shade system. And I said, okay, to try it out, we're going to make Roman shades for my bedroom.
Okay.
So that's on the list.
Okay. The ever-growing list.
I don't know when that list is going to get done. But,
right. But it's on the list. Hey, listen, sometimes just making the list is a good thing.
That's the first step.
Since you are still fabricating, what is your favorite thing to make?
My favorite thing to make, I really do like making cushions.
Okay.
I do. I found a system that I really love, and they're fast and instantly gratifying. And, when you get that perfect corner and the crown and pattern matching, I don't know, it's very satisfying to me.
Okay. I love that. I love that answer. Addie, what do you do extremely well?
I pivot very well.
Oh, that's a good skill to have.
Yeah. I think that I am very flexible in, okay, this isn't working. Let's move.
Okay.
Let's do this. This isn't working. Let's try this. I think that's probably.
It's probably a good life skill too with 4 children.
I don't think I have a choice. I think I just have to. Right. But I do it without a lot of pain.
Okay. So. Okay. What do you not do so well?
Maybe it's not that I don't. Well, I'm a bit of a procrastinator because I get stuck in the details to the point where I don't want to pull the trigger because I'm not sure, that. So on some things, after I just said I pivot really well, but there are things that I'll put off that I don't like to do.
Okay.
Like my books. I finally hired a bookkeeper, and that's been awesome. But there are things that I don't like to do that I'll just keep putting off. Maybe time management is a problem.
Okay. I can relate to that. And I was just saying recently, I had something, and I know you're not supposed to use your email as a to-do list, but someone had emailed me with a request that I assumed was going to take me a really long time and was going to be very complicated. Months, Addie. Months this email stared at me, and it took me less than 8 minutes to finish. I was so mad at myself for all the mental anguish I caused myself, thinking, she's going to think I'm rude. Oh, I didn't do this yet. Yep, 8 minutes.
Yep, me too. I can relate to that. So.
Yeah, it doesn't make me happy, but
it's the anxiety and anticipation of having to deal with that and going, I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time. And then it takes you 8 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I did have the time. I
had the time many times over. I had more than 8 minutes. I
tortured myself for months over it.
I had more than 8 minutes of anxiety over it. So there you go.
Exactly.
What about you would surprise people?
At this point, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay. That's an answer. What do you love best about this business?
The people. I love the people. I love the designers. I love the other fabricators. I love the generosity and the sharing and the lack of competition. I mean, there is competition because there's always competition, but there's no animosity. It's just, here, I can't do this. Can you do this? Let me help. Will you come help me do this? I've had other workrooms call me and say, hey, can you help with this? And, we jump in and we help each other.
Yeah. I love that about our industry.
Yeah. It's the community.
Okay. What do you love least about it?
The lack of new people.
Yeah.
I really wish there were more programs available for kids coming up that are learning this. And in our area, there just isn't.
Yeah.
And, hopefully one day I'll have time to be instrumental in helping with that. But, it's just really hard to find people who know how and enjoy sewing.
Yeah. It's interesting. Over the years, I have interviewed a few people who are teaching, and I'm always in awe of that. I just recently interviewed Emily Marshall, and she's in California. And a large portion of her business right now is teaching children to sew. And it's just so exciting. And yes, that is something we need to keep an eye on. The good news is at CWC this year, like 40% of the people that were there were brand new to the industry and younger faces than my own. So that always makes me happy. But you're right. The teaching part is, my own daughter's my one daughter had some desire to sew, but didn't follow through on it. My other daughter, she just hands it over to me and says, will you take care of this?
Right.
And we really do. We need to see more of that.
I've made a conscious effort not to push my daughters into this, and because I don't want to push them away.
Right.
So I do. One of them has come and helped, and she's an excellent serger and hand sewer, but it's sometimes she's like, I don't want to. So
the trade-off isn't worth it.
No, but she does know how. So There's that. She might change her mind later.
Yeah, that's right. And by not pushing her, you're doing the right thing. Addie, in what ways do you think you're resilient? You said you pivot easily, and that's a sign of resiliency in my mind. But in what other ways do you see yourself as resilient?
There have been some tough times where there's no help and the money's low and the jobs are low, but I stuck it through, and kids were all sick at one time, and it would have been very easy to go, this is too much, I cannot do this.
Yep.
And I didn't. I'm still here 10 years. So
I think that's amazing. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In the same space. I have a 5-year lease. So
that's pretty specific.
Hopefully, doing the same thing, but better.
Okay. Oh, I like that. Doing the same thing, but better. I like that.
With more help.
Yes, with more help. So if you're listening to this and you live near Addie, please reach out.
Call me.
It's interesting. Over the years, I have seen people shift and pivot their businesses where people have started working together with other people. Cindy Gray and Jean Laws are in your area, and they've combined their skills together. And I've come across workrooms where they are collaborating more than in the past. And I'm hoping that people will keep that as an option in their minds, because it is a struggle for one person. And many of us have talked about it's lonely to do this by yourself. So if you're near Addie and you don't want
to, Fontana has come to help quite a bit. So she's been real busy herself over the last couple of years. So, but we keep in touch and we have a great relationship.
That's awesome.
And so beautiful. And, there's a bunch of them that we all, get together and talk.
Yeah, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. So before I ask you the last question, you're on Instagram. Are you on Facebook too?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll put links to your website, Facebook, and Instagram account in the show notes. So to someone who's just starting out or someone who's been around for a while and they're thinking about growing, what advice would you give to them?
Don't underestimate yourself. Stick with it.
Okay.
You're going to screw up. Do it better next time. Learn from your mistakes. Hire a bookkeeper.
Yes.
Don't do that part. There's somebody who can do it better and faster. Mm-hmm. Anybody who can do it better and faster, hire them to do it. Do you the part that you do best.
That is very good advice. I love that. And I love putting the confidence out there, because I think that's the hardest part for some of us, is having the confidence to know that we can do this.
And the confidence that you can do better next time.
No one's going to die that you made those draperies too long.
Do it again.
Yeah.
You can do it again. There are do-overs in this business. You can do it over.
Yes, there are do-overs.
You can do it right. It's okay.
Addie,
that's why we have seam rippers.
That's right. That's right. Addie, this has been an absolute pleasure for me to catch up with you. Thank you so much for giving me your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Seal. It's so wonderful to be back.
Thank you. In case you couldn't tell, I was absolutely beside myself to be able to catch up with Addie. When I looked at her first podcast and realized it had been 6 years since we did it, I've seen her a few times between then and now, but it's been a while. So that was really fantastic for me to be able to hear from her and talk with her. And I don't know if you could tell, but I think I was smiling through the entire thing. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.